Hey garden enthusiasts! Today we're diving deep into one of the most powerful tools in sustainable agriculture, the relationship between crop rotation and soil health. Before we jump in, let me break down what we'll cover in this comprehensive guide. We've split this video into 5 major sections to make it super easy to follow. First, we'll explore why growing the same crops year after year can spell trouble for your garden. Then, we'll introduce you to crop rotation, a game-changing solution that's been used by farmers for thousands of years. In our third section, we'll walk through different types of rotation systems you can use in your own garden. Next, we'll look at real success stories from farms and gardens that have transformed their soil through smart rotation. Finally, I'll give you practical steps to start your own rotation plan, along with some awesome resources to help you succeed. Whether you're tending a small backyard garden or managing acres of farmland, understanding this relationship between what you plant and your soil's health is absolutely crucial. So grab your gardening gloves and let's dig in. The problem with monoculture. Picture this. You're eating your favorite food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day for years. Eventually, your body would start missing out on essential nutrients, right? Well, that's exactly what happens to our soil with monoculture farming. So what exactly is monoculture? It's when farmers or gardeners grow the same crop in the same spot, season after season. Think of endless fields of corn stretching to the horizon, or rows of the same tomato plants in your garden year after year. While it might seem efficient, this practice is actually like running a marathon without ever stopping to rest or refuel. Here's the thing about soil. It's not just dirt. It's a living ecosystem packed with nutrients that our plants need to grow. Each type of crop has its favorite nutrients that it loves to gobble up. When we grow the same crop repeatedly, it's like having a picky eater who only wants potatoes. Eventually, all the nutrients that potatoes need get used up, while other nutrients just sit there unused. For example, corn is a heavy feeder that loves nitrogen, and if you keep planting it in the same spot, you'll end up with soil that's totally drained of nitrogen, but might have excess of other nutrients. But nutrient depletion isn't the only problem. Monoculture creates a perfect paradise for pests and diseases. Imagine you're a corn earworm. Finding a field full of your favorite food would be like hitting the jackpot. With no other plants to confuse them or block their path, pests can spread rapidly through a monoculture field. Same goes for diseases. When all plants are identical, if one gets sick, they all become vulnerable. It's like how a cold can spread quickly through a classroom where everyone's sitting close together. And you know what makes this even worse? To fight these problems, farmers often turn to more chemical fertilizers and pesticides, creating a cycle that becomes harder and harder to break. But don't worry, there's a better way. And that's exactly what we'll explore in our next section about crop rotation. Crop rotation vs. soil health. Now that we understand the problems with monoculture, let's talk about the solution that farmers have been using for thousands of years. Crop rotation. Think of it like a perfectly choreographed dance, where different plants take turns leading on your garden's dance floor. Crop rotation is actually pretty simple. Instead of growing the same crop in the same spot year after year, you switch it up in a planned sequence. It's like having a dinner party where each guest brings a different dish, making the whole meal more interesting and nutritious. The benefits of this practice are absolutely incredible. First off, different plants have different superpowers when it comes to soil health. Take legumes, for example. Plants like peas and beans are like tiny fertilizer factories. They team up with beneficial bacteria to pull nitrogen right out of the air and store it in the soil. Then, when you follow them with heavy feeders like corn or tomatoes the next season, these plants get to feast on all that natural nitrogen. It's nature's way of restoring balance. But the benefits don't stop there. Crop rotation is like playing musical chairs with pests and diseases. When you keep moving crops around, those pesky insects and pathogens that were planning to attack your tomatoes next year show up to find carrots instead. Talk about a plot twist. This natural pest control means you can significantly cut down on chemical pesticides. Let me share some real-world examples of how this works. One of the most classic rotation patterns is the legume cereal dance. After growing beans or peas, legumes, farmers plant corn or wheat, cereals, in that same spot. The cereals thrive on the nitrogen left behind by the legumes. Another popular sequence is following root crops like carrots with leafy greens like lettuce. Since these plants feed at different soil depths, they help maintain a balanced nutrient profile throughout your soil. The beauty of crop rotation is that it's not just about preventing problems. It's about creating a vibrant, living soil ecosystem that gets better year after year. It's like building a savings account for your soil's future, where every deposit of organic matter and nutrients pays dividends in healthier plants and better harvests. Types of crop rotation. Let's dive into the different types of crop rotation systems you can use in your garden. Think of these rotation systems like recipes. You can start with a simple 2-ingredient dish and work your way up to a gourmet feast. Let's start with the 2-crop rotation. It's like alternating between coffee and tea. This simple system typically involves switching between 2 different plant families each season. A classic example is alternating between legumes and grains. While it's the easiest to manage, especially for beginners, it's kind of like only having 2 outfits in your closet. It works, but you might miss out on some variety. Moving up to the 3-crop rotation, things get more interesting. This is like playing rock, paper, scissors with your plants. A popular combination is legumes, followed by leafy greens, then root vegetables. This system gives your soil more variety and better protection against pests, but it requires more planning and a bit more space. The 4-crop rotation is the grand finale. It's like having a 4-course meal in your garden. Here's a winning combination. Start with legumes, follow with leafy greens, then fruiting crops like tomatoes, and finish with root vegetables. While this system offers the most benefits for soil health and pest control, it does need more space and careful planning to execute properly. Now, how do you choose what's right for your garden? Well, it's like picking out clothes. It needs to fit. If you've got a small backyard garden, a 2 or 3 crop rotation might be perfect. But if you're working with more space, you might want to try the 4-crop system. Consider your soil type too. Sandy soils might need more frequent plantings of soil-building crops like legumes. Here's a pro tip. Start with whatever system matches your current gardening confidence level. You can always level up later. Remember, even a simple rotation is better than no rotation at all. It's like exercise. Starting with a daily walk is better than waiting until you're ready for a marathon. Think about your local climate and growing season too. If you've got a shorter growing season, you might want to stick with a simpler rotation that allows enough time for each crop to mature. And don't forget to factor in your favorite vegetables. There's no point in growing crops you won't enjoy eating. Real-world examples. Let's look at some real success stories that'll get you excited about crop rotation. One of my favorite examples is the Johnson family farm in Wisconsin. They switched from continuous corn to a 4-crop rotation system 10 years ago. The result? Their soil organic matter doubled, and they haven't needed to buy synthetic fertilizers for the past 5 years. Talk about a win-win. Then there's Sarah's community garden in Oregon. They were struggling with tomato blight every single season until they implemented a 3-crop rotation. Now, not only have their pest problems virtually disappeared, but their tomato yields have increased by 40%. The best part? They're using 0 chemical pesticides. But these aren't just isolated success stories. Research from the University of Minnesota shows that farms using crop rotation typically see a 10 to 15% increase in yield stability compared to monoculture systems. That means more reliable harvests, year after year. Think about it. When was the last time you heard of a natural ecosystem suffering from pest outbreaks? That's because diversity is nature's insurance policy. Let's talk dollars and cents because this is where crop rotation really shines. Farmers who implement proper rotation systems report cutting their fertilizer costs by up to 50%. And here's the kicker. While their input costs go down, their soil keeps getting better. It's like having a savings account that actually grows by itself. The environmental benefits are just as impressive. Rotated fields typically need 50% less synthetic pesticides, which means cleaner water runoff and healthier ecosystems. Plus, diverse crop rotations create better habitat for beneficial insects and wildlife. One farmer in Iowa noticed that bird populations on his land tripled after switching to a 4-crop rotation. These success stories share a common thread: patience. The improvements didn't happen overnight, but once they started, they created a positive snowball effect. Better soil led to healthier plants, which led to fewer pests, which led to lower costs. And the cycle continues. It's like watching compound interest work its magic in your garden. Start rotating your crops to make soil healthy. All right, let's get you started on your crop rotation journey. Don't worry if it seems overwhelming. I'll break it down into super simple steps that anyone can follow. Step 1. Start by making a simple map of your garden space. Just grab a piece of paper and divide it into sections. Now list all the crops you want to grow this year. Group them into plant families, like putting tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants in the nightshade family. This is your garden's game plan. Step 2. Pick your rotation system. Remember those 2, 3, and 4 crop rotations we talked about. Start with what feels manageable. If you're new to this, try a simple 2-crop rotation. Maybe alternate between leafy greens and root vegetables. It's like learning to walk before you run. To help you stay organized, there are some fantastic tools out there. Check out the Planter Garden Planner app. It's like having a garden coach in your pocket. And if you're old school, a simple notebook works great too. Just make sure to note what you plant, where, and when. Before we wrap up, here's your homework. Start small, but start now. Even if you just rotate between 2 beds this season, you're already making a positive impact on your soil's health. Take photos of your soil and plants now, and watch the transformation over the seasons. Trust me, in a year from now, you'll be amazed at the difference. And don't forget, healthier soil means healthier food, which means a healthier you and a healthier planet. So get out there, start rotating those crops, and be part of the solution. Drop a comment below with your rotation plans or questions, and let's keep this conversation growing. Together, we can build a more sustainable future, one garden rotation at a time.